After weeks of thrills and excitement at the World Cup football tournament in Brazil, we finally have a winner. Germany was crowned champion Sunday when a goal by substitute Mario Götze ended Argentina's hopes of taking home the famous golden trophy. It's Germany's fourth World Cup championship and the second time it defeated Argentina for the coveted trophy. It has been an extraordinary month with spectacular games. Superstars like Messi and Müller have thrilled fans watching around the globe. We begin with CCTV correspondent Joel Richards, who joins us from Rio. So Joel, tell us what that moment was like when it became abundantly clear Germany had won.
Well, afternoon from Rio, Asier, and really was the crowning moment for what, as you mentioned, really has been a spectacular tournament. When we're specifically talking about the football, we've had the most amount of goals in this World Cup since 1998, and Mario Götze's goal had that element of drama after what was an extremely intense and final, a fantastic game, hotly disputed, what a game which perhaps people expected to be slightly more closed. So it was a fantastic final, and really what we saw though was this, as I said, a crowning moment, if you like, a brilliant goal scored by the best team in the competition in what was a fantastic final. So a very fitting end to this World Cup, Asier.
Joel, how much of a blow was this for Argentina, who has one of the best players in the world, Messi?
Well, it's a disappointment for, obviously, for all the 40 million Argentines, and in particular for the players. It was very easy to see just how disappointed they were. But at the same time, we must say that reaching the final in itself is an enormous achievement. Alejandro Sabella said before, the coach said before the World Cup, that they were aiming to make the last four. Now, you could say he was being slightly prudent ahead of the tournament, but at the same time, reaching the final in the way they did is very admirable, and I'm sure they'll be more than happy with that. For Leo Messi, it's a major disappointment, though. He was given the FIFA Player of the Tournament award. Perhaps not quite fair, but I think there were other players who were better performers. But so it's like consolation prize for him. But of course, the big debate was, could Leo Messi, the big question I should say, is whether Leo Messi could crown his already glittering career with a World Cup here in Brazil. And unfortunately for him, it wasn't to be.
Now, the Brazilians lost dramatically, of course, 7-1 to Germany in the semifinal. Did it give the Brazilians perhaps any comfort that at least their arch rival, Argentina, did not win?
Absolutely, Asier. The reaction today has been incredible, just to see how relieved Brazilians and the Brazil media are. All the papers have been treating this almost as if it's a Brazil victory. And what we saw yesterday in Maracanã, in the stadium during the final, was the Argentines chanting against the Germans, but also against the Brazilians who were there in the stadium. So for Brazil, a very disappointing end to the tournament, conceding 10 goals in 4 days. That famous 7-1 defeat in the semi-final, and then 3 more in the fourth playoff against the Netherlands. So very disappointing for them. But as you said, the prospect of Argentina winning here in Brazil was too much for many to take. So they got fully behind Germany. Germany obviously winning on their own merit, but nonetheless, for Brazilians, a real relief that Argentina didn't lift the trophy.
The game was also watched by world leaders like Angela Merkel, Vladimir Putin, and big-name stars. What can you tell us about that part of the story, and any idea how many people watched this game?
Sure. Well, the World Cup is, of course, the global sporting event, bringing together all the nations, 32 nations for 1 month. And as you mentioned, it's been a spectacular World Cup. And throughout the tournament, throughout every phase, we've seen many countries, amongst them Spain, Holland, Germany, of course, reaching the final. They've all been breaking television records progressively. Yesterday in Germany, the figures are around 32 million, of course, in a country of 80. So, and this doesn't take into account those watching in bars and public viewing areas. So the number's much higher. In terms of the global number, it's not really sure. The number for the South Africa final 2010 was in the region of 700 million. It's believed that this time round over 1 billion people were tuning in. But of course, as you said, an array of VIPs at the World Cup final. Amongst them, Vladimir Putin, whose country, Russia, will be hosting the next World Cup. Dilma Rousseff, who handed over the trophy to Philipp Lahm, the Germany captain, and Angela Merkel, the German chancellor. No Cristina Fernández de Kirchner from Argentina. She had said that amongst her busy schedule, she was unable to come, and of course avoid that disappointment.
Joel, before the World Cup games started, there were so much concerns about whether Brazil was ready for these games. There were protests with people basically saying all this money spent on preparations for the games should go on social programs. Now some are saying this was the best World Cup ever. What are you hearing from where you are?
Well, the catchphrase, if you like, for this World Cup, Asier, was this was the Copa das Copas, the all-time great World Cup, and certainly it has all the romance that a World Cup wants, with hosting in Brazil with this fabulous location. But as you said, there was much resistance to this, and just a year ago, there were over 1 million Brazilians on the streets protesting at the expenditure, around $11 billion in total being spent on infrastructure and stadia. The sport has perhaps slightly taken over. It's been a fantastic World Cup with many stars and many fantastic stories taking place, and so that really has put everything on the back burner when it comes to the protests and whether or not it's been in the spotlight. Yesterday there was a protest outside Maracanã, but only about 300 people. So the protests have very much died down, and I think the lasting image of this World Cup will be that it has been a spectacular World Cup. But of course, the come down, if you like, will be immediate. Already, many media outlets are already unpacking everything, heading home, and they'll have to wait and see in the next few weeks how Brazil then obviously carries on life after this World Cup.
And Joel, very quickly, how much of a boost has this been for Brazil's economy? Quickly, please.
Sure. Well, we mentioned the 11 billion expenditure. It takes a long time to find out about about the outcome of the economy, but certainly many foundations have been looking into this. They're saying that that perhaps around about 2.6 billion injection to the economy. So the amount of tourists and everything spending as much has been invested, and a little bit on top, but certainly not an enormous income. And of course, it's just lasting just the 1 month.
All right. Thank you so much, Joel Richards, with a spectacular view behind him in Rio. Thanks, sir.